So we need to talk about the $50 per hour minimum wage. That would mean for an 8-hour day, you are making $400 per day. That sounds pretty good, right? Well, let's talk about this because what lawmakers are pushing for is actually happening. I want to break down what is going on, why what we're seeing happen in California is actually working its way across the United States and is hitting some major cities. So I'll break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So yes, the $50 minimum wage. There's a lot of people pushing for this, and there is a very good reason why. But that $50, that $400 per day, or $2,000 per week, $8,000 per month, that right there is going to change many people's lives. But I want to show you something. It says the proposed $50 minimum wage bill in California would crush small businesses. Here's what you need to know. There are many lawmakers that are pushing for a higher minimum wage, and that $50 mark, there's a reason behind it, but it's only for the state of California. In other states, for example, Washington State, it would be something like $40. In Texas, something like $30. In Florida, something closer to $32 to $35 per hour. And I'll explain why in just a moment. But one thing that has just happened just recently is something that also done in California. What we now know is that California's minimum wage for healthcare workers went into effect on June 1st, 2024. The only problem is, well, they're still kind of waiting. Now, we're not going to get into why they're waiting or the complexities behind that, but the big news is California healthcare workers are now going to receive anywhere from $18 to $23 per hour. The crazy part, though, and again, that depends on the facility you work at and the type of healthcare that you're doing. But the crazy part is the fast food workers flipping the burgers and cooking the chicken tenders and deep frying the French fries. They're getting paid $20 an hour. So sometimes your fast food worker is getting paid more than the healthcare worker. How crazy is that? But I want to show you this map right here. This is a study that shows that in California, you need to make $42.25 an hour in order to afford a 2-bedroom rental. Well, look what it is in Montana, $19.28. In Utah, $24.93. In Colorado, $32.13. In New York, $40.08. In Tennessee, $20.76. Even in Illinois, $25.59. Look over here in Alaska, $26.32. You see the difference. Well, over here in Arkansas, just to give you an idea, it's $16.27 is all you need per hour to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Now, why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a massive deal. It's a massive thing because of what we are currently getting. The lawmakers that are pushing for a higher minimum wage. But what they are looking for is not the minimum wage. They want to change that and call it the livable wage. That's what they want. This is something that we heard from Senator Bernie Sanders a few years back. This is something that we've heard from President Biden. We've heard this from, we've heard it from former President Donald Trump multiple times, although he's not really pushing for it. Because, as I just said, a $50 minimum wage in California, this would actually crush small businesses. The reason why is because many people will not be able to afford to pay their employees that amount. Not only that, they would not be able to justify the cost of their service or product just yet. There'd be a gap. There'd be a gap between by the time that they implement the $50 minimum wage versus the time where it made sense. Because all other industries have to catch up. All other people have to catch up. And that's the problem. I want to show you this though. This is the current minimum wage in all the states as of January 1st, 2024. In Washington State, we have one of the highest one of the highest minimum wages in the entire country outside of Washington, D.C. Okay, it's $16.28. California is $16 outside of fast food workers, where it's actually $20, and now healthcare workers will get an increase as well. You see all the blue. This is the problem. The minimum wage, this is the federal minimum wage. $7.25 is the federal minimum wage, and many of these states are actually at the federal minimum wage. Now, I have a lot of friends that, again, I live in Washington State. I have a lot of friends that live in Idaho, or right there along the border between Coeur d'Alene and Spokane, and tell me the same thing, that I'm not getting paid $7.25. I'm getting paid much more. But the thing is, many businesses start you right at the bottom. Well, here's the problem. I want to show you this. This is the real median household income in the United States. This is what it was back in 2008, $66,280. Okay? Now, this right here is what it was in 2019, $78,250. Okay? And it kept dropping. This is actually in 2022. This was last updated on September 12th, 2023, but you get the idea. It's dropping. The real median household income in the United States is going down. One of the reasons why is because of what we call the average weekly hours. Look at this. This is what it used to be. 38.8 hours. This is under President Johnson back in 1965. Okay, 66, something like that. Then it's just dropped. Keeps coming down. Then it stabilized a little bit. Stabilized under President Bush. Okay, then it pretty much stayed flat under President Barack Obama. It dropped, obviously, in 2008. That's what we saw, and then it came back up. Stayed pretty steady. That jumped in 2021, I believe, under former President Donald Trump. And then, when Biden got it, it just started coming back down. We're now sitting at a current level of 33.7 hours. That's as of April 2024. The reason why that's a problem is because even though wages slightly going up, the problem is average weekly hours goes down. So essentially you're getting less money at the end of the week or end of the month. That's an issue. Now, I want to show you something else though, because as we are starting to get more money, but we're working less hours, right? Everyone thinks, oh, we're making more money, but you're working less hours. That's a problem. This is one of the reasons why many people are proposing this $50 minimum wage. Okay, $50 is because, again, it's not the minimum wage. They're calling it the livable wage. What do you need to live in the United States? And again, I'll just show you this map one more time. This is the reason why. Because in most states, let's say the minimum wage is $15 an hour. In Washington State, just to give you an idea, we're at $16.28 is the minimum wage. But you need $36.33 in order to afford a 2-bedroom rental. So if you ever want to own a home, sorry, out of the question. Oh, you're a 2-income family? Oh, great. Well, guess what? You still need $36.33. So even if you both made minimum wage, you're only making, what, $32.56. Guess what? You're short. That's the problem. Now, this is hurting many low-income families. This is hurting many of the younger generation, but it's also hurt retirees. It says almost 1 in 3 American retirees are considering temporary work or unretirement as cost of living soars. That's troubling, as people are trying to get out of retirement in order to afford just living. Well, look at this. Things are getting actually worse, where more Americans are falling behind on their credit card bills. It says about 8.9% of credit card balances fell into delinquency over the last year. That's according to the Federal Reserve Bank out of New York. The problem right now is things aren't getting better, but you're hearing less lawmakers talk about raising the federal minimum wage. You know what they're doing? They're raising the state's minimum wage. They're raising the minimum wage for certain industries, right? Fast food workers, healthcare workers. Guess what? We've seen federal employees get pretty substantial raises over the past handful of years. But are we seeing this all across the board? No. Are teachers getting big fat raises? No, which is one of the reasons why many are getting out of the industry if they're not being fired first or the school isn't completely shutting down. So that's where we're at this time. Many people are struggling because of the cost of living. But what is really happening right now is we are seeing not just a push for a $50 minimum wage, but a substantial increase for a livable wage. That's what we're facing at this time. So, as soon as we get more information as to which cities, states, and potentially the federal government, as far as they go, is pushing a minimum wage increase, I will bring you the latest news as soon as we get it. But as of right now, that is all we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.